The Roots of Success podcast is for the landscape professional who's looking to up their game. We've got a brain trust of experts to help you nurture the roots of a successful business and grow to the next level. This is the Roots of Success.
Welcome to Roots of Success podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Cole, and we have an awesome guest today, Tanya Dalton. Tanya's a super inspiring woman, driven, and also my best and worst critique on lots of things to be successful. So I've been sort of like putting her off to be a guest on my show because I'm a little intimidated. But you know what you do with intimidation is you just face it.
You don't have to be
so here
scared.
we are together, finally. Tanya's been wanting to come on, and I've been like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready, but I guess I'm ready now. And here we are.
I mean, might as well, right?
Welcome
Yeah.
to the show. Welcome to the show. This is great. We're off-site location, kind of my favorite thing to do.
Mhm.
Impromptu. Let's have Tanya on. She has, I don't know, I just would record everything that she talks because everything is like juicy and fun and like practical. So Tanya, for no one that has any idea who you are, give us a little bit of background. What's going on?
Yeah, where do I start? I started my first business in 2008 with $50.
$50. What?
It was supposed to be a side thing. I was a stay-at-home mom. Thought, I need something else other than watching the kids. And I started growing that business. I decided, my husband was on a trip, I think maybe with Jim Calley,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And he had an around the world ticket where he left our home in Dallas, Texas, and he flew all the way around the world, all the way to the other side. He was gone for like 4 weeks at a time.
So what am I going to do?
Right? What am I going to do?
right.
Just hang out with the kids? I needed something else. And so I decided I was going to start this side business. Well, while he was on one of these trips, I said to him, these are all the things the kids are doing, getting all excited. And he got really, really quiet. And he goes, I'm missing everything. I'm missing all the moments. I'm missing all the time with the kids. And it kind of killed me. Like I knew that he loved marketing. I knew he loved what he was doing, but he was really upset about not being, he's a really good hands-on dad. So I made the decision, standing in my bright yellow kitchen that day. I had zero business experience. I had never even taken a business course in college, but I decided I was going to grow that business and absorb my husband's MBA income.
Okay.
And he was going to come and work alongside of me, and we were going to grow that. And within a year, I made that happen.
Okay.
So
what was it?
Well, that business at the time, I was making jewelry. It was very specific, very niched business. I was making jewelry and selling it to photographers wholesale. I would take their images, I would set them into heirloom quality jewelry, and then I would sell to photographers all around the world.
Wow.
So that's what allowed us to have the freedom
Yep.
that I like to talk to people about, the lifestyle freedom, the time freedom, right? The financial freedom that you get with entrepreneurship. But it really wasn't making me happy.
Okay.
We were able to move to Asheville, North Carolina, which is where we live now. We had all kinds of freedoms, but I wasn't happy.
You were unhappy with doing all that.
No, I didn't feel like I was making a big enough impact in the world.
Yeah.
And that's really
You needed
important to
something
me.
bigger. I feel like it was so small and nichey, right? I think you're more for big stuff.
I didn't know it at the time,
Yep.
right? Because it was like paying all the bills. It paid the mortgage.
Yeah.
My kids like to eat 3 meals a day. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, right?
Come on, kids.
So it was really hard to walk away from that, especially because John and I were working together. It was our sole income, basically. So we had to make the decision to close the business, went without income for 6 months, and opened up a brand new business called Inkwell Press.
Yeah.
And
about that is the game changer, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, I remember a week before we launched that business, I looked at John and I said, this is either going to be amazing or we're going to be living in our car under a bridge.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I don't know if that's motivation, but that would be like, we're going to figure this out.
We are going to figure, and that's what we did. And that's, I think, what sets entrepreneurs apart.
What year was this?
That was 2014.
Okay.
So 10 years ago now.
So what was the product or what was the thing? I kind of know it, but I want our audiences to understand this.
So we started off selling productivity tools, all kinds of planners, weekly planners, daily planners. I really am passionate about people being productive because I was talking to a lot of business owners and they would say, well, how are you doing this? How are you scaling your business on this level with so few employees?
At home, basically.
At home. I was running the entire business out of my house, shipping internationally, doing all of those things. And so I really wanted to help people be able to do that as well. So I launched Inkwell Press We scaled to 7 figures in less than 18 months.
Oh my
and That
gosh.
was me, my husband, John, and a part-time employee.
Wow.
So people a lot of times think you have to have these giant teams behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You have to have operations. You have to have systems. You have to have, right? That's the secret.
Yes. Okay. Oh my God. So 7-figure in 18 months. What the heck? Like, relate that to a landscaping business at the same time. That's not no easy task because we're so hands-on. So how are you able to sort of stack bricks on top of each other to build it? Now, online presence is probably huge, right? Because that's probably mostly where it was of ordering, but you also have logistics and things and people and make the product, right? Come up with the product, use the product. So even though landscape is a service space, but you have a product to sell, how did you do that with 3 people and 7 figures?
Well, it does come down to service, right? I like to say that my product-based business started off as service-based as well, because it really was about educating people, about helping people, and understanding the much bigger why of what we do. I think a lot of people get caught up when they think about their mission statements. Like, I know you guys at McFarland Stanford talk a lot about know your mission statement, know your vision statement. And I think the mistake people make with their mission statement is they talk about what they do. And a lot of times it's way too long and complicated, right?
No, it's mowing grass, like none of that.
No, it's none of that. It's really why you do what you do, not the what, it's the why. So for landscapers, it's not about mowing the grass. It's not about blowing the leaves or creating hardscapes. It's about, maybe if you do hardscapes, maybe it's creating spaces for families to come together. That's your mission statement.
It's kind of like the Amazon, right? We just, it's just the smile, deliver happiness.
Right.
That's sort of like a tagline. Like that's all we do, right? It's not, we're picking up your packages and we're moving them and transporting and we're putting them in there and we're going to make you super happy because you got the product. Right.
Exactly. So it's really that looking at that much bigger picture, right? And you as the leader have to help everybody else on the team see that picture. A lot of times when people talk about leadership, they talk about getting everybody on the bus. And I think that's all wrong.
Okay.
Because the truth is...
What do you mean, like everyone drinking the Kool-Aid?
Right. People will say, you got to get everybody on the bus. Well, the problem is you're the one driving the bus, right? They're just sitting around as passengers. It's really about getting people to row the boat. You know, like when you see those crews.
So in other words, so rowing, I have a job to row this oar. So do you, and so do you, and so do you. Whereas the bus driver is in total charge of
control.
Everything.
Right, right. But my job as the leader is to stand at the back of the boat telling everybody to row, right? We're rowing right, rowing left. I'm looking at the vision of where we're going. I'm setting the course, and I make sure that everybody's rowing the oars in the right direction. Because if everyone's rowing differently, we're going to be spinning in circles, right? Yeah. And so that's really at the heart of it, is understanding, first of all, why you do what you do. So that's your filter for all your decisions. All your decisions should be filtered through your North Star. Your mission, your vision, your core values. That is what helps you decide what your yeses are and what your nos are.
And can those change?
Oh, they should change.
So don't overthink this mission, vision, core value, right? I mean, because the first few revisions is going to be terrible, probably.
Oh, without a doubt.
But then you get a little bit better and you kind of narrow that focus. It used to be a whole paragraph, right? And now it becomes delivering happiness.
Yes.
Or put a smile on someone's face.
And even that changes. Think about Amazon. They started off just selling books.
Right.
Right? They just did books. And this is the mistake a lot of people make when they're running their business. They're like, I want to be Amazon. Okay. Amazon started selling books. Then they added in office supplies. Then they added in, and they started, as they grew and they got their systems to a good place, they were able to tack on to that. So same thing here with your mission, your vision, and your core values. They should change. If they're not changing, you aren't evolving.
Stagnant.
You're not growing, right? I mean, think about who you were as a person 5 years ago.
Right.
You probably had very different mission, vision, and core values for yourself.
Yeah, I just need a paycheck. Yeah, that's all. No, good. Yeah. So let's talk about, you've done a lot of successful things and you've traveled a lot. You've spoken a lot. You've done a lot of these podcasts, but you keep mentioning this thing, productivity.
Right.
And we had a side conversation earlier. I'm like, well, back when I was a kid, I just worked hard. I had two, blue collar parents, and we just put in the hours and we worked. And so I kind of learned from that, is just put in the hours. And if you're sitting still, it's like, you're doing nothing. I did a lot of civil construction, and when a piece of equipment's sitting, you're losing money. It should be moving constantly. So I just grew up in this moving, doing something. But as I've evolved in the last, I don't know, handful of years, I'm starting to learn that that's not the case. But
Yeah.
I'm very common, as most landscaper out there, most business owners, most middle-level managers talk about the secrets and the success of and the whys behind productivity.
Yeah, this is such a great question because you're right. People feel like, oh, if I'm moving, then I'm being productive, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times you're just busy. And there's a big difference between busy and productive.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about a piece of machinery sitting still, yes, that's not productive that it's sitting still, but it's also a piece of machinery, not
Yeah.
a person.
Yeah.
And in fact, many times we're being more productive when we are still because we're being strategic, because we're, stopping and really thinking. I like to say, and the quote that really defines my book, The Joy of Missing Out, is productivity is not about doing more. It's doing what's most important.
So it is like a prioritization list, or is it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. That's 100% what I talk about in my books and my teaching. Tommy, you get a gold star.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm a winner. Okay.
So yeah, it really is. It comes down to your choices, how you're prioritizing.
Yeah.
One of the big buzzwords people talk about when they talk about productivity is time management. And I'm here to tell you, there is no time management. Let me just say that again. I'm going to look right at you.
Yeah.
You're watching this on video. There is no time management.
What does that mean? There's no time management.
Well, you can't manage time. Time is not something that you can control. It's not like an angry 3-year-old throwing a tantrum on the floor at Target, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time is simply time. It moves on no matter what. What you can manage is your activities and your choices.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I think that hit me. Why is that? Because I think it's this sexy word of time management.
Right.
We've always learned.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, I think I just had it in a presentation. I think I need to remove it. I think I need to pull that out real quick.
I'm calling you out a little bit.
Yeah, you're calling me out because I agree. It's almost like work-life balance. There's really not. There's not.
Oh, I don't believe in balance either. If we want to talk about that.
No,
yeah.
I've learned that, and so there's nothing. So it's productivity list. What happens with business owners? I found, or let's just take mid-level managers. I've been a project manager for a long, long time, and it's all about just productivity of the tasks at hand. Mm-hmm. So it's more like project management.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you've got a list of things to get done, you need to prioritize. Yeah, now, next week, next month, next year, I can do it. We have a lot of members that come into our ACE program and they've got lists.
Right.
We go to events and there's lists and pages and pages.
People love their lists.
So what do you do with lists? Like when you go to events or you learn things or you read a book or you listen to a podcast, you got all those notes. What do I do with that?
Well, those are different questions.
Okay.
So first of all, let's talk about just the lists in general, because I believe in tossing your to-do list. I don't believe a to-do list works. I think it takes you everywhere but where you want to go, because it's unorganized, it's too long, and honestly, your brain will go for the quickest win. Your brain has dopamine in it, which is that little thing that gives you that high when you cross something off your list, right? Like, have you ever written
put something
on your list just to cross it off?
Cross it off. I knew you were going to say that.
You're using your to-do list as like an emotional boost rather than as a true productivity tool. So I tell people, and I teach people how to write a priority list, which is basically a to-do list.
Priority list.
Yeah. It's like a to-do list with intention. So a priority list has 3 different levels: escalate, cultivate, and accommodate. So basically it's kind of a riff off the Eisenhower matrix of urgent and important, right? So at the very top of your list, you write the things you want to escalate. The things that are urgent, they have a looming deadline, right? And they're important. When I say important, I mean they're tied to your North Star, right? They're investments in your future. They're things that are truly tied to where you want to go.
Okay.
So you start your list at the very top and you just put the things that are escalated there, important and urgent. Next on the list, right underneath there, is cultivate. These are items that are not urgent, but they're important. So things like creating your budget, right? Creating your marketing budget, or reviewing your financials, doing some of those things that are truly an investment in your future.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, you have accommodate. These are things that are not important, but they're urgent. Because they're urgent, it seems like a screaming fire, right? It's like 99% of what's in your email inbox right now, not really that important.
Yeah, not that important.
And yet we structure our whole day around checking
emails.
Emails.
Yes.
Right. And so When you have your list, you start at the top with your escalate and you move down that list. And that gives you a lot more information about where you want to go, right?
Okay.
A lot of business owners feel overwhelmed. I hear that word all the time.
Yes.
Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Overwhelm isn't having too much to do. It's not knowing where to start. And if you use a list to tell you, okay, I'm going to start here and then I'm going to go here and then I'm going to do this next, all that overwhelm goes away.
Yeah.
It really is that simple.
Yeah. So let's talk about a day, because we're all guilty of this. We get up, we do our things, whether it's workout, take the kids to school, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
There's something that goes on personally. And then we go to the office and we go work. And all the time we open the laptop and we go to town.
Just start doing.
The problem, what's the first thing you check? Email. It's just a standard
Not
email.
Me. Not me.
Right. So it's an email and it's just checking things out or whatever. And then it's text messages and follow up. And then half the day goes by.
And all of a sudden,
You're like, I got nothing done. I haven't really done anything. Now I'm starting to get stressed
right?
because there's deadlines or there's priority reorganization. There's things going on. And then it's a rush because it's now 5 o'clock or 3 or 7. And I have to go get the kids and do something.
Uh-huh.
So to be productive,
Yeah.
what does someone do in the day?
Yeah. Well, it starts with that morning,
Okay.
right? That you don't check email first. You don't let other people's fires become your fires until you have set your calendar.
I got to change
So,
it. I got to change it.
It's such a habit. It really is. And that is what a routine is. A routine is a set of habits that are just stacked upon each other. That's habit stacking. Well, this habit leads to this habit, leads to this habit. And that's what creates your morning routine. So, for example, instead of keeping your phone by your bed where you're going to check it before your feet have even hit the floor, keep your phone in the other room.
Mhm.
Use something else for your alarm clock,
Mhm.
right? People are like, oh, I'll use it for my alarm. Buy a clock.
Yeah.
They're like $13.
Or like a rooster or something like
Like
that.
a
Yeah.
rooster.
In
That
Asheville.
works.
Yeah. Like a
That
rooster.
works.
Yes.
So that's the first thing is you don't let other people start encroaching in your day. You fill your calendar first. You block off the time. I'm a big believer.
Do not disturb.
Right. Do not disturb.
Huge fan of that.
I have a sign that I put outside my door that says I'm in deep work mode. My team knows not to disturb me when I'm in deep work mode.
Yeah.
I will come out. I'm like, if you need something, send me a text message because my phone is on do not disturb also, right? Or you can write a note and post it. I have a little spot where they can leave the note for me. And then I'll go find them and we can
Nice.
have
I
that
love that.
conversation.
Leave a comment card.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, every time you get interrupted, you lose that state of
Totally.
flow. And it takes you 23 minutes to get into that deep state.
Yeah.
So if you're getting interrupted every 10 minutes, it's no surprise you're not getting anything done.
So I got the part with the alarm, right? You get
Mhm.
going. So what are the things you're doing to get the day going? Is it something, reviewing the list, setting goals for the day, prioritize your items? Is it
Great question. Yeah. So not checking your phone first
okay?
and planning each day. Spend 10 minutes planning that day and deciding what you're going to block into that day and then blocking off that time. I like to tell people, start with the emotion you want to feel at the end of the day. That feels a little woo-woo.
Ooh,
I get
that is
that, right?
woo-woo.
But think about it. Let's say your son plays baseball,
Yeah.
right? So he's got a baseball game. How do you want to feel at the end of the day? I want to feel present for his game, right? So, okay, that helps me determine what are the tasks to do today that are going to make me feel more present tonight, right?
Mhm.
I need to make sure that I have those phone calls done. I need to make sure that I have done whatever reports I need to get done because I would like to be present for my kid.
Mm.
Or maybe you want to feel prepared because you have a big client presentation. Maybe you have a client that you're working with that you're about to give them a presentation of what their landscaping is going to look like. Okay, if I want to feel prepared for my meeting in 2 days, then I know today I'm going to prioritize that client and I'm going to make sure that everybody is getting their things done, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So starting with that emotion of
Emotion
how you
at
want to
the-
feel.
At the end of the day.
Well, I think
Yeah.
too often we run around busy all day long, checking 1,000 things off our to-do list. And we slip into bed at night and our head hits the pillow and we think,
I didn't get this
why
done.
didn't I get enough done?
Hmm.
Even though you were busy all day long, right? But if you start with that feeling of like, okay, today I want to make sure I feel whatever at the end of the day. I want to feel prepared. I want to feel present. I want to feel whatever it is. Then you're making those decisions. We talked about the fact that productivity is really about choices, right?
Mhm.
That helps you get clear on what you want to prioritize.
Mhm.
And then you can structure your day.
Mhm.
And after you have set your day and you've blocked off time for you to work on these things, then you give other people access to your calendar. Or like with meetings, my team knows I don't do meetings in the morning. I do a meeting on Mondays. That's our Monday momentum meeting, which is kind of like a morning rollout for our landscapers. I do that for my team, right? They're not going out and mowing lawns or, laying out decks and doing those kinds of things. But I'm there in the back of the boat saying, hey, this is the direction we're going.
Kind of setting the tone for the week.
Well, yes, I'm also setting the priorities for the week.
Yeah.
Because in that meeting, I'm telling them, these are the priorities for this week. These are the things we need to get accomplished. So everybody knows and everybody's on board. My job as the leader is to zoom up and out, right? I call it getting the forest view.
Forest view.
I want to see the whole forest. If you're in the thick of it, you're just seeing the trees. And I don't want to just see the trees, because how can I lead my team? How can I tell them where we're going if I'm seeing all these trees? So I go up and out and I create that strategy. And so I'm really, really intentional with that. I do strategy days. I do full day strategies at least once a quarter. And at the end of the year, around October, November, I do a 2-day strategic planning session where I dive deep and I really get clear on where I want to prioritize for the year to come, right? I do those quarterly ones because I like to check in. I think reflection is really, really important. But it's also a chance for me to redirect and shift. Things happen in the year. We're not going to be able to just set the goals and then that's just it for the year, right? So it gives me an opportunity to check in. So I do a whole process where I identify, I invest, and I implement. I call it my 3 I's.
3 I's: identify, invest,
and implement.
Okay, 3 I's. I can do that.
Yeah. I mean, basically, when you run a business, it's legalized gambling, right? You're putting your money on the table and you're like, this is what I'm hoping it's going to work.
Yeah.
Hey, if you run a product-based business, I was basically putting up money, like, $500,000 in cash that I had to pay for products before it would come in.
Yeah.
Right? Hoping
that someone would buy.
Somebody will buy this. When we hire people, we are legalized. It's gambling.
Right.
That I think this person's going to work out. I'm hoping they're going to be able to bring the revenue in.
You're banking on that.
So it's really important that we're very clear on where we want to go and how we want to get there.
Yeah.
Right? That's being strategic.
Yeah.
So by stepping back and identifying, looking for the holes, what went well, what didn't go well, and being truly brutally honest with ourselves. This did not go well at all.
Yeah.
Or man, this really sucked.
Yeah.
Right? You break down your business and you look at the different categories, dive deep into it. Take a look. This went well. This didn't go well. Where do I want to go next? That's part of identifying.
Yeah.
Then investing. I lay it out. I literally have like a paper that I create for myself where I map it out on the table of what's the thing that I think is going to be the least effort, but the biggest impact. So it's almost like a little matrix that I lay it out on. So I know, hey, this is going to be a lot of resources. It's going to require a lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of money. Okay, I don't want to do a bunch of those in the coming year. I want to do 1 or 2 of those, the things that are going to be a
Yeah.
heavy pull on your resources. I want to do all the things that I can that make a big impact.
Yeah.
So kind of laying those out and saying, all right, here's where I'm going to put all my chips. I'm going to put my chips on the table on these things. And then implementing is all about communication. It's all about getting that information out to my team, making sure that we're all on that same page through not just, hey, I hope they know what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah.
It's, hey, we're having a weekly
We do
meeting,
know.
Monday momentum. Here's where we're going. Let's look at where we're going and moving each week.
Do you prepare the night before, the day before, the Sunday before, the Monday morning momentum? Like, is there any prep work going into this?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. So I do, I actually have a system called 5 Ps. You can tell, I write.
You have all these acronyms
do.
and little
I do.
isms. I love, but that's how we remember things.
It is. Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
The 3 I's.
The 3 I's,
Yep.
5 Ps.
Okay, what's the
Yeah.
5 Ps?
The 5 Ps. The first one is purge. And that means purge it out of your head. We're using our head as this filing cabinet for all the things we need to do. As a business owner,
That is
there's
me.
a
I'm raising my
lot of
hand
stuff.
if you can't see me, right? I have a filing system that is a train wreck in my head.
Yeah. And then you wonder why you're either having problems sleeping or you're feeling so stressed.
Brain
because
fog.
Literally, you're holding it all in your head. So basically, it's a brain dump. Get it on a sheet of paper. Don't
Okay.
worry about organizing it. Don't worry about all of that. Just get it on a sheet of paper.
Okay.
That becomes your well that you're going to pull from.
Pull from. Okay.
For the whole week. So I do that twice, actually. I do it on Sundays with my family because your family is a team, right? And I treat my family like a team. We call ourselves Team Dalton. I don't want to be micromanaging my kids or my husband. That's not going to help them grow, right? We as leaders want to help people grow. I want my family to grow. I want my kids to go out into the world and be, self-sufficient adults at some point. So I do that on Sundays with my family, and we gather together and we do all of that. And then on Mondays, I do it first by myself, and then I do it with my team.
Okay.
And so that's the first one, is to purge, get it out of your head.
Okay. I can purge.
So
it's best to write down, right? I understand.
Absolutely.
I can do that. Is there a special tablet, paper, or is there like a journal to dump that stuff in?
I mean,
you probably provide this product.
I actually have, yes, we actually
Shocker,
have a product,
right? Shocker.
called the Weekly Kickstart that we sell at Inkwell Press. That is the name of my company, which I have sold, but I'm still a part of.
Okay.
So I use the Weekly Kickstart, and we mark it down. It's got a spot in there for each day, so we can write down things for like the kids, like, oh, here's soccer practice.
Okay.
Here's when this is, because they are responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
Not me.
This is fascinating because we have a Sunday family meeting.
Oh, you do?
And it's usually over food. So whether it's a breakfast, lunch, or dinner on Sundays, it's tricky with all of our schedules but we determine the schedule for the week.
Yes.
So, okay, I know we're not purging things, but we're getting the team Team Cole, right? We're saying Monday you'll be here, Tuesday we'll be here. Daddy's traveling,
right?
Mommy's doing this. You have to go get a ride. And I will tell you, as young kids, they're not going to remember everything, but they have an idea of how the week is going to go.
Yes.
It's so
empowering.
And so what also we do is we go, what was your favorite thing from last week? Anything to discuss that is on your mind? What are you grateful for? And do the calendar.
So good.
And it's, in fact, it was very awkward. My kids were like, this is the dumbest thing, Mom. Like, it's so dumb. But we pull out our calendars. We go through everything. Now my 13-year-old has a calendar and an iPhone, so he can see things that are on his calendar, practices, where to go, when to be picked up. But if we don't have that meeting, we've missed some, we're a train wreck.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing is, I want my kids to be empowered to know what's coming next and to take care of themselves, right? I used to be a teacher as well, so I know this is why teachers always post a schedule for the kids in the classroom, because they want to know what's happening next. It makes them feel more safe and secure. Honestly, it's like the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. They want to feel safe and secure, so they want to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Your team at work feels exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way.
So we got purge.
So the next one is process.
Okay.
So we had purge, then we have process. And process is take 5 to 10 minutes to sit down each day and map out what you want to get done for that day. What we talked about there with what's the emotion I want to feel at the end of the day? How do I want to feel? Right? Answer that question. And then, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And that's our third P, is to prioritize.
Okay.
Create your priority list, right? Write down, okay, well, now that I know I want to feel X, I'm going to do these things. Put them in your priority list in order of priority. And then we need to protect. That's our fourth P. You want to protect that time, right? You want to make sure that you're blocking off your calendar. And if your team has access to your calendar, make sure it's marked off and it is like non-negotiable.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb.
Yeah. I think that's a lot happens with us. I think there's an intention to put something on the calendar, or if there's an intention, I got to do this today and I got to lock out some time to do it. I don't think we're disciplined enough to actually shut the door and do it.
I think shutting the door is shutting the door, and you put the sign up.
Yeah.
You literally just put up a sign. I'm in do not disturb mode. I'm doing
the whole old school thinking, like my door's always open.
No, your door should not always be open. If your door is always open, you're not doing any thinking time.
Gotcha.
No strategic thinking time, right? Because you're putting out fires and they're using.
And everyone's coming in.
Well, they're using you as a soothing mechanism. I'm stressed because I don't know what to do. And you're becoming the bottleneck. You wonder why you can't walk away and leave work. I mean, I go on 2-week unplugged vacations where my team cannot access me intentionally. I want them to be empowered. I want them, this is why I hired them. They're A players, treat them like A players, right? So protect your calendar. That's when, after you've done that, then you're going to put in other people's things and what they need, right?
Okay.
And then our fifth P is to propel, to give yourself more water in the well, right? So I like to do this little process at the end of the day. I call the 5-minute download, where I take 5 minutes at the end of each day to help me propel into the next day. Okay. So I start with minute 1 is, what have I accomplished today? A lot of times we forget all the things that we've done well. right? The things that we did.
That's so
that
true.
happened.
Be grateful that
So
I did accomplish a lot of
you'll be
tasks.
surprised when
Yeah.
you take a minute, you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you have to physically write it because you
Mhm.
want to see it on the page and you're going to say, wow, I got a lot done. I got a lot accomplished,
Yeah.
right? Minute 2 is really about assessing yourself. How did I feel today? Was I super stressed? Did I put too much on my plate? Okay, I need to start adjusting that, right?
Mhm.
Give yourself a rating on 1 to 10. How did I feel with my productivity today?
Mhm.
That'll start, if you're having a lot of days where you're like 9, 10,
That's
you're doing
good.
great.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of days that are 7, we need to change some things.
Gotcha.
7 or below,
So you're
right?
kind of giving yourself a scorecard of how things are going
Yeah.
day to day.
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I think we negate that so
Yeah.
much about, isn't it really about being happy? Isn't that
Yeah.
why
That's
do we
what we're
go-
chasing.
Yeah, that's everybody's chasing that.
Mhm.
Every goal you've ever set in your entire life is steeped in happiness.
Yeah.
I want to be happy. Why are you running your own business? Not because you want to have an ulcer and work 80 hours a week.
Right.
It's because you want to be happy and you want to have more freedom, right?
Yeah.
So how am I doing with that?
Yeah.
So check in. Minute 3, write down 3 things you're grateful for today and be specific. Don't say, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for the weather. I'm grateful for the weather because today was a beautiful day and we were able to really go out there and get so much done and we enjoyed lunch outside, whatever it is, right? Then minute 4, what did I do today? What's one thing I did to get closer to one of the goals? One of my goals, what did I do, right? Because that helps you stay goal-centered. And then minute 5 is, all right, what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? I'm not planning out the day, but I'm getting it out of my head and onto the sheet of paper. And then what I do is I take that sheet of paper, I leave it on my desk, and that closes that work compartment for me. And then I can go home and be fully 100% present
Engaged.
for my family, right?
Yeah.
I like to think of them like as a door. I'm
Yeah.
closing one door and opening the other.
Yeah.
The nice thing is the next morning when I come into my office, guess what's waiting for me? Hey, look at all the things I accomplished yesterday. Look
Yeah.
at what I was grateful
Starting
for.
off.
I look at that as I'm doing my processing time.
Mhm.
See
Love
how
it.
that all works together?
Yeah. So, God, this is fascinating. My head is just like, I think I'm ready to go back to the office and like get all, because personally, I struggle with this.
Mhm.
I'm a guy that needs to get things going now. And I'm a filing cabinet in my head. And I will tell you, admittedly, I've got a little brain fog. I got scatterish. I'm juggling. I get stressed. I get snappy.
We all get snappy. That's the thing.
Okay.
And then we're not showing up as our best version of ourselves.
No.
I mean, isn't that what we want, is to be the best version of ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know that we're self-sabotaging by not taking care of these things.
Right.
But yeah, how do I want to feel? You know how I don't want to feel? Snappy.
Yeah, I'm very snappy. It just depends on the mood of what's going on in that day.
Yeah, but if you start the day with how do I want
Yeah.
to feel at the end,
Yeah.
and you make those decisions based off that,
Yeah.
it changes everything. It really does.
How's your office set up?
That's a good question. I mean, it's pretty organized.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to organize, but I'm not super anal with like everything's color
Okay.
coded and everything. I have spaces for me because I make sure that I meditate every day. I
Okay.
make sure that I have time. I'm a big believer in taking an afternoon nap.
Okay.
And having still time. I have to have a comfortable chair because I like to sit somewhere comfortable while I'm doing my strategic thinking.
Yeah.
And I make sure I'm pulling time every day to be strategic,
Yeah.
right? To really think about, where do I want to go? Where have we been?
Mhm.
What do I want for the company? What do I want for myself?
Mhm.
I think the thing is a lot of times as business owners, we think of our business as the end goal. And the truth is, that's not the end goal.
Totally not.
Business is the vehicle for the life we really want.
Right.
So let's treat it like the vehicle.
Right.
And if you're treating it as the end all be all of everything else is getting pushed aside, including your family time.
Mhm.
Is that really what you want?
Mhm.
Start doing more of what you want, what you
Mhm.
desire, because
Mhm.
then you're going to be happier.
So let's take, for example, this is really good, by the way.
Well, thank you. I try.
Thank God we're recording this because I got to go back and watch this. But take for instance, like a project manager that's on the go a lot, or someone in the field that is observing maintenance and installations. I just did a presentation on crew leader and how valuable the crew leader is to an organization.
Yeah.
When they're out there and there's no desk.
Right.
Okay, so that's a whole different setup.
Mhm.
What do you recommend for people like that? They're always on the go. They're on the field. They're checking jobs. They're managing things. What is your sort of key things?
Well, I'm a big believer in that all of this has to be customized to you, right? I think the reason why so often we fail in the past is we think there's like this magical system
For everything.
right? And then we try to like bend and twist ourselves to try to fit the system. And then we find ourselves not being happy because we're bending and twisting ourselves and contorting ourselves.
Right.
In truth, it's your priorities. What is most important to you at the center? And then we wrap everything around that. So what works for you? I think, when we think about your office or your systems or any of those things, you have to think about, what am I really good at? What are my strengths? You also have to think about, what are my weaknesses? What are the things that I don't do well?
Right.
Like for me, I'm not the type of person who's going to like neatly fold a towel and do those. So I don't have towel bars in my bathroom because otherwise I feel like a failure. I put in hooks, right? Because I'll hang it on the hook. And that totally works.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a towel bar. So it's the same thing with anything you do. Is this really going to work for you? And you have to ask yourself that. So if you are a person who's like, I just never write anything down. Okay, great. Start keeping like a little notepad in your truck, right? Or get a weekly kickstart. Tommy, I'm coming to your house in a couple of weeks. I'll bring you a weekly kickstart so you can get started doing that. So it really is dependent on what you're doing. Obviously, we use a lot of technology, right? And especially with checking in. Truth is, you actually are more likely to accomplish your goals if you physically write them down.
Yeah.
It triggers our brain in a very different way. And so we'll actually accomplish them versus writing it down with just a computer. So I would say it doesn't matter what you use as long as you feel successful. If you're doing something because this is what I've always done and you find that you don't feel successful, why are you doing that still?
Yeah.
Shake it up.
I believe I was in project manager for a while, did a lot of field stuff, but your truck, your vehicle, in your office back at the shop, it's still a place. So my standard routine was getting into the shop early, mingling with the crews and the guys, seeing the morning roll out. And then I would go to job sites first thing in the morning when my brain is really on sharp, check things out, set the tone for the day, visit with the teams, meet people out in the field. And then my midday was the lunch, sort of regroup and change it now to the afternoon to where I did a little bit of the paperwork stuff. And so I agree with you. You got to find that rhythm that works. Maybe it's flipped for others.
It might be.
And so I don't want to put a little blanket on everyone. Like you were saying, you're going to have to find that avenue that works really well. And some field managers are best in the morning. Some are better in the afternoons. Some stay later and close the shop. Some get there super early. So you have to navigate and adjust based on what your strength is.
Yeah. Again, there's no magic system.
Okay.
We read these articles like the 100 things that CEOs do before 6 a.m. And you're like, oh, I can't do that.
I got to get 100 things.
You feel like a failure.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's great for those people. Maybe they really like getting up early. You like getting up really early. You like working out early, right? And doing those things. But other people don't.
Right.
And that's okay. So this is why it's so important to do, when we talked about the idea of propel, like checking in. How did I feel today? How was my stress? How did today feel? Start paying attention to, what? The afternoon is the perfect time for me to do whatever. Or I feel much sharp. Some people feel much sharper at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Nobody said that you can't do that work at 10 o'clock at night. We get caught up in this idea of balance. Like, oh, well, it's 10 o'clock at night. And even though I want to work, I'm just like, let that go. Get that work done. But if you're doing that, then go into the office later or make sure in the mid-afternoon you're going home or doing whatever.
Right.
But figure out, just pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Stop trying to fit in with what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. And with all the stuff going on in the world, right? And social media, we're sort of we're looking for quick fixes.
Or reactionary.
Right? And this is what I should be doing based on some random stranger yelling and screaming and doing all kinds of things.
We should on ourselves so much.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I should be doing this. And this is the problem with a lot of goals that we set. We're looking around and we're paying attention to what everybody else is doing. We're like, oh, this guy across town, he's doing this. I should do more of that.
Yeah.
Or this person over here, they're doing these things. I should be doing that.
Right.
And we don't stop to ask ourselves the question, is that really what I want? Which is why, again, I stop and do those strategy days, right? Because it's all about my North Star. Where do I want this company to go? Where do I want to be? Am I building this company to sell in 5 years? Then I have a very different set of priorities than somebody who's, I'm wanting to build this company in 5 years to hand it over to my son, or I'm building this company to continue to grow. And it's okay sometimes to say, hey, I want to grow the company. It's also okay to say, I want to get to 5 million and I want to stay there.
Yeah.
Because that feels good to me.
Right.
I'm not interested in being the next Amazon
Yeah.
or the next $80 million
Which
company.
is totally greatness.
Right. So that's why all of this has to be customized to you, what you want, what you desire.
Okay.
Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Don't feel like you have to get up at the crack of dawn and do burpees because Tommy's up doing God knows what.
You can.
You can. Feel free.
And I don't force it on people,
No,
but
you
there's attractiveness of some people that want it. And I was at the gym this morning, and as soon as I walked in, there's 2 or 3 people going, he's here. I'm like, oh crap.
Well, yeah, this is the thing, Tommy. Like if you don't show up, people are like, where's Tommy?
But guess what? Holds me a little accountable to get things.
Well, we know McFarland Sanford loves accountability.
Yeah. So I got one more good juicy thing we gotta hammer out. We had a discussion prior to this about this work-life balance thingy, right? And I feel like it's been a fad for a while, right? Trying to find this balance of I'm working and then I stop and then I do this. But like, let me put this in perspective. When we meet a lot of aces and we give updates, when they update their personal thing, more than half of them says, I got my work-life balance. I'm working so much. I got to find the work-life balance. And I'm like, right?
Yes.
And I want to just really like go on a tangent. So what's your perception of this thing and help us out with this quote unquote,
this mythical illusion of balance that does not exist?
So help us out.
Well, truly, we don't want balance because if you're balanced, you're not moving in any direction. Think about riding a bike, right? To ride a bike, yes, you have to be balanced. And that's fine. If you want to stay on the same old road, go in the same direction, just doing the same thing over and over again. If you want to go left, you have to lean to the left. You have to go out of balance, right? You have to pour more of you into that left. You can't stay poured over too long. You'll fall down. You'll scrape your leg, right? You have to counterbalance. And then maybe you want to go to the right, so you lean to the right. So it's a series of getting out of perfect balance and counterbalancing and then leaning again. And so when we think about our lives, we can think of it in terms of like work life, right? Personal life, home life, however you want to look at it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to lean into work for a while. That means I'm kind of picking up and not doing quite as much with my family. Can't do that for forever. I need a counterbalance. And then maybe I want to lean more into family things for the next season of my life, the next quarter. This again is why I stop every quarter and I do the strategy, right? Because it's like, all right, where am I leaning this quarter? For the next 90 days, where am I leaning most of my time, energy, focus? Because this is the thing, in order to do anything, it requires a commitment, right?
Right.
The cost of greatness is commitment. So you have to commit to leaning into it. And it's okay to lean. It's okay to go and work hard, but we can't stay leaned over. We need a counterbalance. So for example, when I have a book launching, and I get into book launch mode and I'm doing hundreds of podcast interviews and going out and trying to move as many books as I can because HarperCollins really wants me to sell a lot of books. Right. I know that I'm going to be leaning into that for a season. So I always plan a big family vacation at the end of that, right? That's my carrot, right?
Oh, I love it.
Then I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I've just written a book.
But once again, there's no work-life balance. Like you're all in on this book until February when it comes, right? Like you got to be all in.
Right. And then I'll counterbalance.
And then you balance it
and
out.
then I will work on my other goals, my personal things, the things with my family, spending more and I make sure to communicate that with my family, right? That's part of those meetings.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I've always been a big advocate for letting your family in on what your business is doing.
Yeah.
What's happening. Because you know what? They can lift you up. Just like we lift each other up. And right when my son, when he was doing plays and he'd have rehearsals, part of our conversation is, all right, who's picking up the slack of Jack's chores?
Yeah.
All right, Kay, you're going to do this. John, you're going to do this. I'm going to do these things. Your family can do that for you as well.
Yeah.
Your team at work can do that as well, right? So, hey, everybody, this is what I'm leaning into.
Yeah.
All right. Then they can help you and support you, and then you can keep moving. So
that's fascinating. Fascinating. When I left on this trip, my daughter's 9, and it's pretty fascinating because we have a map of the U.S. in her playroom. And I always tell her the state that I'm going to. So she's kind of realizing, oh, okay, you're going here. All right. So the capital, and we're learning that. And so now she's got an iPad, right? So she can kind of do a little texting back and forth. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And so I always send little motivational things like have a great day to my son or, random things. And this week as we're traveling, I got a message from a 9-year-old says, Hi, Daddy. Hope you slay the day. And I'm like, how awesome is that?
so
Right.
fantastic.
It's because I let her know, it's kind of funny. Like, I let her know little tidbits of what I'm doing. And she's like, well, what do you do when you travel? And I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I got clients and like, what's a client? They pay. And
Yeah.
so there's that dialogue of knowing what's going on, but yet that's just part of our life. It's part of what we did. And going back to the whole, I got to find a work-life balance. I think it's an excuse
It
to
100%.
say this is what's going on because they're so buried in, and it's like, I'm working 70 hours a week. And
Well, there's a badge of pride that comes with that too.
Right.
Hey, look at me, everybody. I'm working like 80-hour weeks.
Yeah.
We use that as
Right.
a badge of we're really proud of how hard we were. Yeah.
And it's not about the hours.
No,
Don't get me.
It's really not. Actually,
the results.
Research shows after 50 hours, your productivity declines. Like
Yeah.
you're spending more time getting less work done.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Gosh.
but yeah, I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
think about, because I know, Tommy, your dad was really instrumental for
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about how you would roll newspapers with your dad and
Yeah.
do those kinds of things,
Yeah.
right? That is the harmony, not the
Totally.
balance. Your dad getting up with you and spending
Yeah.
that time with you.
Yeah.
That was really important. And he
Yeah.
modeled that for you.
Yeah.
So when you're telling your daughter and your son about, this is what I'm doing, I'm teaching people about this, they're taking all of that in.
Yeah.
Like my kids.
Very observant. Like
Right.
they're a sponge.
They're a sponge. My kids now are 18 and
Yeah.
21. My daughter is 18. She's a manager of a Chick-fil-A. She's been a manager since she was 17 years old.
Love it.
She started working at 15.
Do you know how awesome that is? That's
It's-
like a great business, great company, systems,
Oh,
process,
Don't get me
pride,
started on their
hiring, onboarding.
systems. Woo, I know.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to
And
go and I
whatever
want to
she-
go into businesses and I want to help them do all these things because she's like, I love leading.
Great. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to offer her a job soon. We're going to observe it. We're going to go there and we're going to learn a ton. That's a great business to learn in.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my
we do
gosh.
that through modeling and
Yeah.
by sharing our experiences. And
Yeah.
that brings your team at home closer to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being honest about what's going on. Sometimes we have bad days at the office and saying, this is why I had a bad day. And telling my kids,
Yeah.
this is what's happening. I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you a funny story real
Okay.
quick. I know we're wrapping up, but John and I had been kind of going round and round. I had an employee that really needed to get fired and I hadn't done it. And kind of put it off, one of those things. And my son comes downstairs and he goes, what are you guys talking about? I said, well, I'm talking about this person. And he goes, oh, good God, would you fire her?
Just do
already?"
it.
He did. And you know what? Fired her the next day.
Yeah.
And it was the smartest decision I could have made.
Because it's emotions, it's overthinking, it's how I got to do it, but I don't want to do it. Yeah.
I mean,
And the kids have no filter,
no,
none.
they will tell you.
They will tell
Even
you.
when you don't want to hear it.
Yes.
So true.
Well, Tanya, this has been great. What's one thing to leave our audience after all this discussion that says one more little nugget
Mhm.
left behind?
I would say, if there was one thing I would encourage people to do, it's how, I talked about the 5 Ps and the 3 Is. If you could carve out, and you can, carve out one day a quarter that is for your strategic planning to really dive deep to figure out what are the habits I want to establish for myself? What do I want to change? What do I like? Where do I want to go? And start doing that. You got to put it on your calendar months in advance
Mhm.
because you're blocking out the day,
Mhm.
right? So right now, if you'll block out time for the end of Q1 in March, hey, here's my strategic planning day. I go ahead and I mark it off. It's marked off for like the next 10 years because it's blocked. So if you'll do that and you give yourself that time and space to really think through who you are, what you want, where you want to go, business is easy.
I'm ready to go. Like, I think I'm ready to go home and start cranking this out, get an Inkwell. Well, I'll see you here soon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to buy one of those off of you, and I'm gonna do the 3 Is and the 5 Ps, the emotion,
Mhm.
what I want at the end of the day, because always something at the end of the day that I'm striving for it to get to.
Yeah.
I am an example of a lot of people out there right now that needs a little bit of help. So thank you so much. Like, this has been great. She's awesome. Where can they find Tanya Dalton?
Yeah. Well, TanyaDalton.com
Okay,
is the
wow.
best place for me. I
Okay.
have a podcast with 300 some odd episodes.
Okay.
You can find access to my books. I have 3 books. Well, my 3rd book's coming out with HarperCollins
Okay.
in February. But yeah, and I speak and I do trainings and all kinds
Yeah,
of things.
awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya. It's been awesome. That's Roots of Success. I got that off my plate. Now we have to just do it a little more often, right? That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Ready to take the next step? Download our free profitability scorecard to quickly create your own baseline financial assessment and uncover the fastest ways to improve your business. Just go to mcfarlandstanford.com/scorecard to get yours today. To learn more about McFarland Stanford, our best-in-class peer groups, and other services, go to our website at mcfarlandstanford.com, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time on The Roots of Success.